everyone, and welcome back to She Plays the podcast. I am joined today by Peter Schoenthal, who is the founder and CEO of Athliance, and I'm super pumped to have him on today to chat sports, but also NIL. So welcome, Peter, to the podcast.
No, thank you for having me. Looking forward to this one for a while. So I'm glad we could get together and talk some NIL and sports.
Yeah, will you give us a quick background on you and your professional life and everything?
Yeah, so I'm the CEO of Athliance. Athliance is an NIL software that streamlines disclosure for schools and their student athletes NIL deals. And we also educate student athletes on everything from life skills, such as financial literacy, tax literacy, business formation, IP issues, even what to look for in a mortgage, right? I'm a big believer that NIL gives student athletes the opportunity to prepare themselves for lives after sports, whether you go pro or not. And if we look at it that way, we can really make the space the roses that it should be. My background is quite interesting. I was a criminal defense lawyer before this happened, but I coached inner city youth football, and I would help kids on the recruiting trail so they didn't have to deal with dirty street agents. Got close with a lot of compliance officers along the way. So when Florida announced their legislation for NIL about 21 months before it actually started, all the kids that I coached reached out to me and said, "Coach Pete, can we make some money?" And I said, "Not yet." But my first thought was, wait a minute, how are these kids going to pay taxes? I do not want to represent them in federal court, tax evasion charges. And so that kind of got the ball rolling, and we teamed up with some compliance officers and we built a software, and we're currently in about 35 schools nationwide, from Power 5 to Group of 5 to FCS to D2, D3, NAIA. So we're kind of handling all of it. Just a side note, I'm the world's worst coach. I coach kids that ended up at Alabama, Miami, LSU, Florida State, never won a championship, but not a bad mentor. So that's where we're at.
There you go. There you go. Some would say that's even more important. So that's amazing. Yeah. So where did you see a lack? Like, amazing. You were mentoring kids, coaching kids, saw them move on to college and professional. And what were you seeing were the struggles even before NIL of,
Yeah.
they're kind of in a pipeline just to be an athlete and to have success on the field. And I agree, like not really taught life skills. What did you see was most lacking?
I think the life skills aspect, right? And I think the life skills aspect is not great, not just for athletes, but for all student athletes. Like I had no idea like about filing my taxes and what needed to go into that when I was in college. I had no idea how to budget. I had no idea what to look for and how to negotiate to lease or buy a car. IP issues, how to start, an LLC. I knew none of that. And so that applies, I think, to regular students and college athletes, but more so to college athletes, especially the ones that come from low income areas. We talk to these kids about wanting to be lawyers and doctors and accountants, but sometimes they don't know those type of individuals. And we're asking them to kind of picture a life that they don't see on a day-to-day basis. And I thought that was important for me as a lawyer, whose dad wasn't around, to go back into some of these communities and try to offer the ability to see what you could turn out to. And I always like to say that those kids taught me way more than I could have ever learned from them. One of the things that I think is a positive is when you work with young athletes, especially ones that might come from low income areas, you would think that they'd be negative, or that, they would really kind of focus on the things that they don't have, but it was quite the opposite. I learned such lessons in purpose and um, and fulfillment. Like the 3 hours a day that I would coach these kids, or the 2 hours, they were so happy and they were so locked in, and you just would have no idea that some of the things going on in their lives were so negative. And that was a real lesson to me on finding purpose and finding fulfillment.
I will say coaching is such a gift, and not only getting to continue to be involved with a sport that you love, but yeah, like the relationships that you build with players. Yeah, it's a two-way street for sure of what lessons are learned. That's amazing. That's really cool to hear. And so when you do think of NIL coming into the picture, it can, to me, it's like daunting for an 18-year-old to consider, even younger now. I think, aren't there like 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds? Because there are lots of legal ramifications for some of this stuff. What do you,
Not
oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry. Not even legal ramifications. One of the things that bothers me very much in this space is athletes are lazy, right? They don't put in the work for. They're not lazy. They have a
No.
million things going on. Their days are booked from 5 a.m., 6 a.m. until 8 or 9 p.m. And we're asking them to go to school. We're asking them to practice, go to film, do all of these things. And now we're putting something else on their plate. And so I don't view it as a lazy thing. It's more, how do we educate to make things more efficient for them? So it's easier for student athletes to profit off their name, image, and likeness, because it really is the game changer for student athletes while in school to, pay their bills or have a little extra money in their pocket. We talk about college athletics from the lens of just Power Five football and basketball, and sometimes Power Five women's basketball. But so many of these athletes that play other sports or play Division II, Division III, even Division I baseball, Division I row, all those other Division I sports, they're not on full scholarship, right?
Right.
So NIL can really be the great equalizer. What we're seeing early on is that we need to do a better job educating student athletes on not only the financial and the life skills aspect, but how to actually get NIL deals for those that don't have the 200,000 followers, or the ones that aren't the star quarterback. And I'm a big believer that whether you play D1 sports, D2, D3, have 5,000 followers, have 1,000 followers, have a million followers, every student athlete, if they know what they're doing and are willing to put in a little effort, can make $1,000 a month. I'm a big believer of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Certainly not lazy at all. Some of the hardest working people out there, and that don't see benefits a lot of times. So, like you said, this is a big equalizer. And I think what's daunting to me is that, again, someone who's under the age of 20, not an adult yet, could tie themselves to something that might not be for their best interest. It's just like a whole lot of extra, like you really have to surround yourself with people who are going to care for you and try to help lead you in the right way. And it's interesting because I don't think the NCAA or is
No,
providing schools
nobody was
with help.
prepared for this.
Yeah.
Nobody was prepared for this. You bring up a good point, though, with surrounding yourself with the right people. This is where schools need to do a better job of understanding the situation and how to best promote their student athletes and guide them in the right direction, while also not incurring additional liability. I get that there has to be some firewall. But what we talk to student athletes about is the importance of NIL, not just for making money, but for setting yourselves up for future life success. And let me
Mhm.
explain why. When student athletes leave college, 99% aren't going pro. Everyone understands that. But when they go into the workforce, they have these elite skills that employers really like. Let's think about it, right? Elite with time management, elite with playing with others, being on a team, overcoming adversity, staying stringent with being in tune with themselves, and multitasking, right? Those 5 areas are so important, and they're such important traits that employers look for. Where they're missing, where they're not getting jobs, is experience.
Hmm.
And there's different types of experience. So yes, you're never going to have the job experience. I get that. But if you can walk into an interview and say, I have these elite traits you're looking for, but I have life experience. I have, been a part of filing taxes. I have formed LLCs. I have looked over and negotiated contracts. I have built my brand. I have done all these things that really are specific skills that you can use in business. It marries those two things together, and now you're more marketable, and you have the ability to get jobs that maybe a lazy 30-year-old that's getting ahead of you because they have a resume. You've evened the playing field, and you've made
Hmm.
yourself more marketable coming out of college. And I think that's so important, and not enough people are talking about NIL that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree completely. And it was interesting. It was really cool to hear you talk just before we signed on the podcast about the opportunity for women, even in this space, female athletes. I'd love for you to touch a little bit there of like the opportunity that you see and what that's going to do
Oh, I'm
for
going to be blunt
women's
about it.
sports. Yeah.
Women are harder workers than men.
Oh, there you go.
Women early on are more mature than men, especially coming out of
Mhm.
college. They tend to be better on social media and better at focusing on their own brands. Those 3 things are the keys to NIL. So
Hmm.
if you're savvy on social media, you're mature, and you're a hard worker, okay, that's the key to NIL, and no one wants to talk about it. So there's so much opportunity for women out there. People talk about NIL as like just money. It doesn't have to be. It could be
Mhm.
reaching out to your favorite brands, and saying, look, I'm a student athlete. NIL is new. I love your sneakers. They're my favorite workout sneakers. Would you be willing to send me a pair or two for free? And I'll post it to my Instagram saying, when I'm training, for the upcoming season, this is the only shoe I wear. Or if there's a local restaurant you like going to, hi, I'm a college athlete. And you send these DMs. This is my favorite restaurant. What if I came in the night before games or meets and I said, this is where I fuel up for my games? Would you be willing to give me a free meal? Would you be willing to give me $100 in gift cards to do that? It doesn't just have to be cash. And women tend to be more savvy on social media. They tend to be better writers too. And they tend to be more social savvy, as I said before. And so those opportunities are out there for them. And I think it's very important.
It's very cool. That's exciting to hear. And yeah, I think I'm already like things are coming to mind of like college athletes I've seen who do things like that. It's like, yeah, the apparel, promoting the apparel and all that stuff. That's very
And it
cool.
doesn't have to be like in a sex appeal way everyone talks about.
Right.
For all of these things, but women are going to do well because, they're going to get the bikini deal. No. Sure. Listen, if you could profit that way, I think men are doing that too. Put on your, like, whatever it is. But it's the other little areas where I might not have 10, 15, 20,000 followers. I have 2,000 or 3,000 followers. How can I maximize that and find savvy ways to get the extra $1,000 a month, whether it's cash, goods, or meals?
Yeah. Amazing. So how does Athliance work? I know you said you're in 35 schools. Are you working with the schools or are you working with the athletes
We're
individually?
working with the schools so we can reach more athletes, right? So what we do is we sell our software, we license our software to universities. So when their athletes do get NIL deals, they're all preloaded. So when we start working with the school preloads all their athletes. The athlete gets an email saying, download the Athliance app. So when you get an NIL deal, you can disclose it. So you can make sure you're not violating any of the rules, but you're also not getting taken advantage of. And you have all the information you need to file taxes at the end of the year by having all of your deals flow through the platform. We're starting to do integrations though with marketplaces like the Dreamfield, Icon Source, Market Price, some of these elite marketplaces where anyone can go, which I'll talk about in a minute. And we're going to do automatic disclosures for those platforms as well. So your schools will at least get an email about those deals. One of the things we're seeing is college athletes don't know where to go to get NIL opportunities. And there's a lot of places to go if you start looking. So you either don't know or confusion leads to inaction. So any athlete that's on here, go check out Dreamfield, go check out Market Price, go check out Icon Source. There's a lot of campaigns on there like Bird Dogs, right? The shoes, where if you have over 1,000 followers and you're a Division I athlete, you can apply and they'll, if you post this to your Instagram, they'll give you a free pair of shoes. There's a lot of cool initiatives out there that the schools aren't even aware of. Okay, that you could go and start looking for those goods and apply for campaigns and negotiate your own terms. Just make sure your deals are disclosed, because disclosure is important for a few reasons. One, you got to make sure your schools have the data so they can go recruit and get you better teammates, right? Step one. Two, you need a central place to disclose everything so you have all of your tax information at the end of the year. And three, it's not your job to know all the NIL rules. It's up to you. It's up to your school. And it's also up to the school to make sure you're not getting taken advantage of. So disclosure deals that way. Because in our platform, we make sure that any third party working with you all, student athletes, are verified. Because what you don't want is the situation that happened to one of our board members, Alejandro Bedoya. Alejandro Bedoya was he is a professional soccer player. He was the captain of the MLS Philadelphia Union, still is. But he was National Player of the Year for the NCAA soccer for Boston College. So about 10 years ago when he went pro, 9 years ago, he went to Sweden and had about 8,000 followers on Facebook, because us old people, that's what we used at the time. And he gets a DM and it's like, hey, Alejandro, wear this t-shirt. We'll pay you $1,500. And he can do that. He's a pro athlete. He said, cool, I'm in. I don't have that much money. Let's do it. And then the next thing he gets a DM for, which is great. Please give us your bank account number, your routing number, your social security, your date of birth. So he did some research and he's like, well, it's not a real company. It's like the Nigerian prince scam. But he's like, if I were 18 and 19 years old and I was cash strapped, I might do it. And so fraud is something we need to make sure we're protecting young athletes from. And I don't think enough people are talking about that either.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think that athletic programs yet are investing in people to help with that either. I mean, I hope that's something that changes. I hope that's something that gets added to budgets.
Some the Power Fives are, right?
Good.
Good
to hear.
Some of the G5s are. I think everyone will.
Good.
It's just, you got to look at the timeline, right? everyone was waiting on the NCAA to give them something by July 1st. And then on June 28th, the NCAA said, you're on your own. And I think schools are scrambling, but they also had to deal with COVID, a
Yep.
year prior of COVID.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and everyone wants answers now. That is the way the media is and social media. Like, we all want answers now, now, now. It takes 36 to 48 months for a new space to figure itself out. And we're 7 months into this thing. Be patient. Let's do things the right way. But the best way to protect yourself as a student athlete is ask questions, do your research, put in the effort. That'll put you ahead of the game.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So where do you see this in 48 months or 5 years? Like, where do you hope this has led the sports landscape?
I think we have federal legislation with proper enforcement that makes sure everyone's playing by the same rules. Okay, that's step one. We need uniform rules. And then everyone will figure out the right things and the wrong things to do. And then once we get to that place, there will be so much opportunity for athletes, because even brands are hesitant to get in the space because they don't know what the rules are, right? So I think in 5 years, you'll see uniform rules, more people in the space, more athletes profiting, a safer place. In 5 years, I think NIL will look the way we all want it to look, which is people doing things for the right reasons and not just boosters getting involved to pay kids to go to schools. That's been happening for 100 years. That'll continue to happen, but it doesn't have to happen on NIL's watch.
Very cool. Love that. Well, let's hit a little bit of rapid fire questions, and then we'll make sure we send all the ways people can connect. So, first rapid fire question: what's your favorite sports movie?
Rudy.
Rudy, there you go. What's your favorite? I don't know if you collect a jersey or whatever, but favorite piece of sports memorabilia?
Yeah, it's a great question. I have three. I coached three kids when they were youth athletes that are now in college or the NFL, and I have their jerseys up. I have Gilbert Frierson, University of Miami, Marlon Brooks, Ohio University, Rashad Wildgoose, Wisconsin. Still waiting on my Alabama jersey, Josh Jobe, and Dante Lucas, your Florida State jersey. So let's get on it.
There you go. Let's get on it. If you could be good at any sport, which sport would you hope you could like excel in?
That's a great question. So the answer that you think I'd give as an ex-football player would be football, but it's basketball. I love basketball, and football. Once you take the pads off, you're done. There's at least men's league basketball that I could play until I'm 60. I've blown out both knees. I was an ex-point guard. If I could be a little more elite at it and play a little longer, that'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool. Yep. That's my favorite sport too. All right. Who are you rooting for? Who's your favorite sports team?
Go Noles, Florida State.
There you go. Favorite athlete of past and favorite athlete current?
Ooh, that's a good question. My favorite athlete of past, I'd say Michael Jordan. I know that that's like the easy answer, but I'd say Mike. And then being a Miami Heat fan also, and seeing him down here and just seeing his body of work, I'm a big LeBron stan. I always will be a LeBron stan. So I'm going to go with LeBron now. I know those are like cliche answers, but it is what it is.
Fair.
I'm 35. I saw the tail end of Jordan, and I got to see all of LeBron. So, that's how it works.
Same. And I was just saying last night how amazing LeBron's breadth, Michael Jordan too, but like the investment opportunities, like the life skills that he has, which is, he didn't even go to college. So amazing. Someone who's surrounded himself with people who teach him wise investment opportunities.
Let me go a step further with LeBron, because obviously Michael Jordan has done a great job with the Jordan brand. All that. One of the things I love about LeBron is he has propelled those around him from when he was young and growing up. Rich Paul, his age, I forgot, Maverick Carter. I mean, these are guys he's known forever. He has done a great job of giving those around him that he grew up with that might have not had equal opportunity, that were very bright and had the chance to be successful. He gave them that stage to do so. And look what's happened. I mean, you're talking about some of the elite managers and elite agents in the space. It's just fantastic.
It's very cool. All right. Last rapid fire question. It's my favorite. If you could get free tickets for life to one sporting event, you get tickets every time that sporting event happens. What are you getting tickets for?
I love college football events. So, I already go to FSU home games. So let's do, I'm going to give you an answer. I would like a one game a year at a new college football stadium that I haven't been to. That's my bucket list. I have a list of about 40 stadiums. I travel around the country every year. Like this year I went to Penn State, Iowa at Iowa.
Ooh,
it was awesome. So I've been to so many, I want to keep that going. So And the next one that I want to do is Army Navy. So
Okay. I love that. What a unique answer. That might be one of the best answers I've ever gotten for that question. Very good. Well, thanks again for coming on. Where can people find you, find Athliance, and follow? Please tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find Athliance on any social media by just typing in Athliance. You can find me on Twitter at NIL Pete. You could find me on Instagram at the Humanitarian meets an attorney. All right. And you can always email me if you ever want to talk. Peter at athliance.co. It is not .com. There is a Chinese company that owns the .com. They're trying to sell it to me for $15,000, and I don't negotiate with terrorists.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, we will put all of those links in the show notes. Just thanks again for coming on. I'd love to have you back on, maybe, further down the timeline of NIL and just hear how you think things are going. But just thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, you know where to find me.
All right.